Well, here goes. It is time for my Cortex skeleton. I have watched a couple of videos. There's a few that have done it different methods, but I've thought, well, let's just go with it. I'm pretty good with an IKEA box without the instructions, so let's have a go. I hope this is going to work. I really do. It makes sense how I've seen it put out. As you can see, I've set all mine out in an order that suits me, so I can see roughly where certain parts will come together. So when I watched the videos, I thought, right, well, that's all hand, that's all leg. So I've divided it up like that. I've got a few tools here. I've acquired my son's Citadel cutter here to take off the little bits. I'm going to call them spurs, these little bits, and I'm just going to do a couple in a second, but I'm going to call them spurs. It's where it's come off the sprues. So yeah, you do get that. You'll get that in any kits. I haven't really built any kits. My son's done them, so this is really coming from a novice's direction. Obviously, I am a crafter, I do a lot of things, but this is an area I don't know. He's also passed me this little thing. Apparently, it helps remove lines. I think probably for the body, I'm not going to worry about that for the skeleton, but it could be a good piece of equipment to use. Again, this is a Warhammer one, because it's Warhammer he does more than anything else. So I'm going to just pop that one to one side. I've got myself some pretty files here. Again, I'm not overly worried about for the skeleton, but I might need some files. I've got some very fine files here, which are a miniaturist file, so that's quite useful. And Danny pops in some grease, because we do need grease on some of the joints. I've seen some people use Q-tips, they've called them, you know, earbud cleaners, whatever you want to call them. But I've decided I'm using a paintbrush because I think that will give me more accuracy and less mess, because I've seen a few people get into a mess with this because obviously it's greasy. You get it on your hands, it's going to transfer onto the plastics, and then it's difficult to hold or snap together. So I'm going to use a paintbrush for that. I have some tissues ready for any, again, for this, but I've also got some baby wipes because they've got more of a soapy sort of thing to them, so if I get grease on my hands I can wash them. Now this is a strange one here. I have a soft cloth and I've got an old set of pliers. I'm hoping I'm not going to need them, but I've seen some people have struggled to push together. Now I do have arthritis in my hands, so it's not bad, but I do get a little bit of discomfort. I think it's a crafter's condition, isn't it? But obviously I don't want to put a set of pliers straight to it. So I've got a soft cloth to wrap round, and then if I need a little bit of extra push, I'm going to do it on that. I've got to really be aware, where my centre point is here. This is my centre point, isn't it? Because you need to see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to go for it. I have cut most of the spurs off these, but I've saved this little bit here just to sort of show you how I had a play with it. Again, I've never used these things. They are really sharp, as I've found out. Oh, don't want to knock things apart because I've got them all in order. Don't want to mess it up. I do recommend you do this as well. Don't just go with it because, oh, it was so scary. I looked at the bag and I'm like, I can't do it. How on earth am I going to do this? But I've just jumped in with both feet and see what happens. Now, these need to get quite close to the plastic. By doing the skeleton first, it's a great way for you to practice with these things, because if you've not used them, and if you don't do it quite right, it is going to be underneath. So you do get away with a multitude of sins, perhaps. I don't know. As long as you don't damage the actual structure, I don't think it hurts if there's the odd lump and things, because it's going underneath the outer body. So it's the first time for me when I did these, but it's quite good, getting it nice and close. I do recommend these, by the way, they're really good. I've gone sideways. I've seen some people do it that way. I tried it with one. I didn't like the effect because I sort of cut out a little bit more than I should have. So I've sort of gone sideways. So you can see I'm going sideways with the cutter. I'm going to hold it that way. I wouldn't if I was doing it myself, just so you can see how it cuts. So get it nice and close and cut, and it's gone. Obviously, it will leave a tiny white mark. If this was the outer body, this is when we would start messing about with buffers. In fact, we'll just try it, see what happens. Yeah, it sort of buffs it down a little bit, so it's nice and flat. I don't want to use that though, because I want to keep it nice for the outer part of her. The main thing is it's smooth, it's not going to catch, but again, we're not going to see it. Now, we've got a couple more here. The plastic's slightly different. So again, do you go from this side? Do you go from that side? I've not noticed a huge difference, so I'll do one from the inner to the outer. It's okay, it's a little bit of a lump. Let me see if it works a little bit better that way. I've already took it off, so it's not really going to do much, but I'll try it on this one then. So now from this side, let's see, is it neater? It is a little bit flatter. I know you probably can't hear that, but I've just heard clatter, 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 because I wear glasses for my close work, so I'm okay. I would recommend you do put something on your eyes. These are absolutely bouncing everywhere when I'm cutting them. That one popped. You can just see them, they're hitting things as I'm going around. So I would recommend you put something on your eyes, because they just jump like mad, and I've had a couple hit me in the face and it hurts. So please be careful. You can wear a full face mask if you want. Oh, that one's not too bad. So it's just a case of getting really close, keep it nice and flat, try not to angle it. If you angle it, you're going to cut into the other parts. But as I say, this is a great way of practicing on the skeleton rather than the outer body, because you don't want to damage that. That looks okay. I think that's a very small one. Let's take that one off. That's okay. Isn't it any more? No, I think I've done them. So basically, you need a good quality pair of clippers. Some people have used nail clippers. There's some really good quality nail clippers out there, so I mean that might work well. Just that Thomas happened to have these, so I thought, I know Danny has used these as well as nail clippers, so I thought, well, I might as well use them. They are sharp. Please be careful. So I'm going to pop them to one side now, because I don't really need them unless I happen to have missed one and I'll have to pick it up. But we've got bits of plastic everywhere, so that is a bit of a pain. So be careful, because I'm going to be finding these bits of plastic around the floor for the next few days. So I'll put that over there, and here it is, the frame. I think we can work out what the spine is. We could go from that angle. I've seen people go from different directions, and I really don't know where to start. I think I may go with the hips first, because a couple have done that, but so they've gone from hips to feet to whatever. But I think I'm going to work downwards. Now, I get the impression this is going to be put on last anyway, because when we put the outer shell, some of this has got to come back apart. So we need to be aware of that. Obviously, the spine is already structured for us, so that's all good. And we can work out, obviously, for the hole in her back, goes to the back. So this is the front of the spine. Obviously we have shoulders, and we're going to have the hip area. So I think we will start with the hips. I'm going to put that down. Now these up here, let me put the arms back over there. Like I say, I'm trying to keep them all in an order, so it gives me a rough idea. So we have a pelvis, and we have, I don't know what you would class it as, still pelvic area, so we'll still go with that. Now, I got the impression a lot of this is quite easy. It will just clip together. So let's see. Does it clip together? Yep, it clips together. Now, as I say, so I've noticed sometimes they're really hard to get together, so some of them might be difficult for me, but I'm hoping, and again, it will show that even if you do have a few problems with your hands, whether you can or you can't do it. Now, again, with this, we'll note the slope is to the front. The back, which is the wider bit, so if you think of that as the bottom, so it's curving round on the bottom area. And again, one side is higher than the other, so we need to observe that on here. So we have lines, we have lines. So we know this is the lower one, this is the upper one. So it needs to go in that way. My hands are actually shaking there, that's terrible. Now, I know from what I've seen, this is difficult to get in, but I still want to try, because I want to show whether we do need to oil certain parts or not. Right, I'm going to take it back out, because you can hear it creaking. If I can get it back out. Come on, there we go. So that means I'm probably going to need a little bit of the oil. It's like a jelly petroleum. Some of it is needed, obviously, for the doll to help her movements. They're all a little bit creaky when we first get them. But I'm just going to take a tiny bit on the brush. It's just an old brush, this, but this should wash off anyway, even if you're using a good quality brush. And I'm just going to put a tiny bit round, because I don't want much. I don't want it sort of splaying out everywhere and getting it in a mess. So I'm just going to put a little bit in. I don't want to get it on that outer bit, so I'll just put my finger on that. You can feel actually it is quite oily. So as I said, we've got the baby wipes ready if necessary. So let's try again. Remember, higher bit is the back, the lower bit is the front. So we're that way around. And let's see how much difference that actually makes. I'm really hoping I can do this, because my hands do struggle sometimes for strength. Oh, we're nearly there. We're nearly there. I'm having to put a little bit of welly on it. I'm nervous about putting too much pressure on in case I damage it, but I am hoping, in fact, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to use this cloth because that sort of digs into your fingers while you're doing it. I know, as one of the YouTubers mentioned, you know, all credit to the guys who put these together. They must have hands of steel, but I'm just putting that there so it's not pressing on my hands too much. There we go. We're in. So it's clipped. So you can see, as I say again, the slope. Remember bottom, remember front. Okay. So I can't believe how actually nervous I feel doing this. This is really weird. Now, if I take, let me just pop my oil to one side, the hips. Now, the screws go to the back. So when they are put together, they are to the back. So that means that's got to go to that side, and that one needs to go to this side. So I've got my side, so that's not so bad, because working out the left and right on some of these is difficult. There's a couple of things that have an R and an L on. That makes life a lot easier. So now we need to be looking, I've got them upside down. Look at that. If I put it on like that, she's going to have some problems. So let me rethink that. They go that way, so the wrong side. Always dry check this, see where they're going. Again, I'm going to dry run everything, including her outer body. Most of this is just clips and screws, so we don't need to worry about glue. But I'm not going to glue until I'm happy with where it's going, because something as simple as that, I'd put it on the wrong side. So then what's going to happen? Right, so hip joint goes in, leg comes out. So let's open them up again. I've got a pussycat trying to get in here. I've actually shut her out. I usually let her in, but I know what's going to happen. She's going to jump up here and it's going to be chaos. So she's scratching my door at the moment. So these two are my next two little bits. They're absolutely identical. So there's absolutely no left or right there. But you can see we've got a little flat side here. And these are going to fit in to there. So there's not a lot of work on that bit. They just sit in there. On the top one, clicks in. There you go. Got some screws to put in yet, but essentially that's all we need to do. I'm hoping I'm putting this together right. The beauty is, if I haven't done it right, I can actually undo it if I'm careful. So don't panic if you go wrong, because you can actually undo it. So we have two hips. Obviously I've got to fit them in there, but I just wanted to show you how the hip sockets go. So they're going to go in there. I'm just double checking on the size of the screws. Right, the backs of the hips, it's the size 14, which is the largest. Now I've laid my screws out here. So they need 2 in each side. So we've got 1 and we've got 2. And guess what I haven't actually got? I'm going to pause my video there because I haven't got my screwdriver, which would be really useful. So I will be back with you in 2 seconds. Thank you. Right, I'm back. I think I found the right screwdriver. Screwdrivers are the bane of my life in our house. We can never find the right size for the right thing. But I found this little thing, and it does have different sizes inside, so I'm really hoping there is something that fits. Let's have a look. Right, we have a posi screwdriver or a cross thread screwdriver, what you want to, well, so that one's no good, whatever you want to call it. So you do need a screwdriver to suit that. So let's see if we can find a size. That one looks promising. That one, I think. Right, so we'll push that out, and I'll put this back in because otherwise it's going to affect. You can tell I'm not designed to do household things. I'm really rubbish with drills and stuff like that. And master bodger. Right, out it comes, in it goes. So let's see, does it fit? It fits lovely. I think the only thing now is sometimes will it fit into, because you can see it's indented, will it fit in there as to whether I'm going to need a finer screwdriver. But I think it might be a good idea if I actually put the hip in before I screw it together. There's going to be times when this is a video of how not to put your doll together. Right, now do we need a little bit of oil on those hips? I'm happy with that. I don't think that's too bad because that will slightly give as we go. Or shall we put her a little bit in? She's a bit squeaky. Go on then. So all I'm going to do is put, because I'm only putting tiny amounts in, and if worse comes to worse, if you put them together once, you can take them apart and put a little bit more in. So I'm just going to put a bit in there. So I don't want to use all this up. It's got to last. And a little bit in there. Let's see if that makes a difference. Okay, hip joints are like mine by the feel of it. Yeah, that's a bit better, isn't it? So we're going to turn her over. I'm going to pop one screw in there. Now, I know some of them have used electric screwdrivers for this, and it's also mentioned that, you know, you need to be careful. Now, look at this. Wrong way around. It would help. No, why is it not doing it? Should it not go in? That's locked it. Well, that's is that screwing it or unscrewing it? I think that's unscrewing it, isn't it? So I need to go in the opposite direction. And it won't do it. Oh dear, as I say, you can tell I'm not. Oh, there it goes. What's that? Left and right. Left. If I paid some attention, look, there's some little arrows there. Like I say, you can tell I don't do the DIY in the house. Now, is that the right way? Yeah. So it's got a little ratchet on it. So hopefully. Oh! Please be careful. Nearly took my fingers out. In fact, I'm going to use the cloth to hold her. And then if the screwdriver slips like it just did, I'm not going to cause myself an injury. Because the hip joint does move as you're doing it. Now, this is something I always have a problem with. This is why generally in the house I don't do this. I will start to screw something in and I will let the others carry on with it. That's not really going in very happily. That could be just me. Now again, it's supposed to be the largest one, so I'm hoping I'm using, let me clip her together properly. She's coming undone a little bit. So this might be something I'm going to have to get one of the others in the house to do later today. But I can show how we can fit the rest together, can't I? Nope, it's really slippy. I don't know whether that is helping. I think that's making it worse, to be honest. Now, I've got to find a way of holding this without a trip to A&E. There we go. Nice and steady, because we don't want to spoil that screw head. Right, I am not going to push it in any further. It needs to be, but my hands, I don't know, for some reason it's things like screwdrivers and things that I have trouble holding. So I'm not going to do any more. I'm not going to be putting a whole body together anyway today. So if I've done that, when one of others come home later, I'm going to get them to do it for me. So it's weird, my hands are strong for some things, but it's the grip that I have trouble with. It's not good getting older. Never mind, it's not that bad. I can still keep crafting, and that is all that matters to me. So hip joint in, clip together as much as you can. Obviously the screw will pull that together, but because I'm having trouble putting the screws in, and that's my issue, that's not the object's issue. That is that I'm probably using a screwdriver, because as I say, I'm certainly not a DIY fan, and the fact that my hands struggle to grip certain things. So these are going in nowhere near as far as they should be, and I don't use an electric one because I don't want to damage them. It's the pressure with screwdrivers. For some reason I can't put them on, but you can imagine you're going to push them in all the way. It's going to force them together nice and solid. So we've got a nice hip joint movement going there, even without the screws in properly. We've got a bit of movement, but as I say, hopefully your hands are strong enough to put the screws in. It's a funny thing, like I say, certain things I can't do, but I just daren't use an electric one because I think I'm the clumsiest person known to man. So you can see we have some hips going. So now we need to look at the lower part of the leg. Now I did lay these out, so we have them here to give me an idea of where the parts were going to go. So we'll put the hips just slightly over there, and I'll bring this down because these were all apart. That was just me that decided to put them together to roughly work out where they were going to go. So we can see we have our shins. The piece with the mirror eye on is for the outer, so think which leg it's going to be. And if you look at the shaping again, it will tell you where to go. So this, wrong side, is going to click onto this. So I can't remember if it's smooth side or indented side. Let's have a go. Again, we're a bit stiff, so we do need a little bit of oil. But again, without looking at an instruction, to be honest, it doesn't really go on that way anyway. So it makes sense that it does go on the other way. So let's pop a bit of oil on there. This video is going to end up way longer than I anticipated because of my bodging. I do think the paintbrush works quite well to actually put the grease on because I'm not getting covered in grease. Look at that, makes a massive difference, doesn't it? So push it back on, and then you get a little baby wipe because the tissue is, I'm going to rip that in half. I don't need the full baby wipe. I don't want oil or grease, whatever you want to call it, going everywhere because there's a slight soapy element in these. They work quite nicely. Now, before I put this side on, we need to put this in as well. As you can see, there's a little hole there, and you can see these two ridges. So again, common sense shows 2 ridges, a little nodule. So that's where it's going to go. Now, they're both identical, so I don't think it matters right or left, so I'm not going to worry about that. So that just clicks in. So you can see we have a bit of a structure there. Okay, I do hope I'm doing this right. That leg looks incredibly long. All right, there we go. So this then clicks in like that. So see, that's easy. That's just clicked in. No particular worries. I have got to think about screws though, but if you're not sure which screw is which, if you look at the width, obviously that one's got to go quite a way through, and that's only got a little bit of a way through to go. So we've got 2 sizes of screws. I have written them down. Let's have a look. It just says the large one at the top, a small one at the bottom. So large one, you know, I'm just screwing this in by hand and it's going in easier than the screwdriver. Let's see if I can actually get this one to go in. See, this is going in a little bit easier, but yeah, you can see my hands shake. It's just the pressure that I have an issue with. So let's try the I have 3 sizes, but then I've these little weeny ones. I've written small, but that seems very tiny, doesn't it? It doesn't look like it's going to be wide enough, but we can try it. Let's see. At least I shouldn't have so much trouble getting this one in because it's so little. Oh no, look, can you see it's pulling their seams together? I hope I'm still on camera. I am, yeah. I have to keep looking up because I'm really trying to concentrate. We also need to make sure these go in straight because, again, if you're using an electric one, they've gone in slightly crooked, you're going to just damage the actual... Oh, look, that is going in. I'm having to put a lot more pressure on it, though, than perhaps you guys would have to do. So I say it's not a fault of the object. This is a fault of the weakness in my hands. Nearly there. Ah, that works better. Perhaps I just got to take my time and push it in gently. But again, if I've happened to have done something wrong there, it's not going to take seconds to undo, is it? It's not a big deal. So we have one leg. The feet are going to push in the bottom there. This is going to go in there. So we have our knee area. So I'm going to pop that there. And I'm going to bring this part over. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. So we need a little bit of oil. Can you see there? That's the 3 parts. So you've got 4 parts. So inner, outer, ready for the knee, ready for the shin. It looks really weird at the moment. It just doesn't feel like she's the right shape, but I'm hoping it is. Fingers crossed. Soon find out if I've done it wrong way around. It would not be the first time I've done something back to front or inside out, but I don't stress about things like that. I just think I can undo it. Right, so I push that in nice and tight. This over the top. I didn't put grease in the other one, so I'll see if it should be okay. So we clip together. Now, can you see what's happened there? Now, that actually isn't a fault of mine. Let me take it apart and show you. You know, when you're taking the actual spurs off, if you're not careful, you can dig in. There we go. Dig into it. Now, I didn't dig into that because I've not even fully took it off, but it's somehow, whether it's got damage when it's been pulled off the sprue or something like that, It could have been, but again, not the end of the world because it is internals, isn't it? So we're squashing it tight. No one's actually going to see that. As soon as the body's on, unless you're going to take it apart to show people, they're not going to see it. So it was tiny screw and biggest screw and screwdriver and my terrible hands again. Right, let's see. Now I lent it down, didn't I, last time? So it made it a little bit easier. So I'm not pressing on. That's better. Probably could do with being tighter, but I've pulled it together and that's all I'm worried about at the moment. What I'll do when I've finished, because I'm not going to do the body today, is, can you see that? You can, yeah. I'm going to make sure everything's nice and tight, because some of this has got to be took apart before I put the thighs and the body on anyway. So this is just seeing where the parts are. I hope this is making sense. I do have a very strange way of doing things sometimes. So remember, outer, outer. I'm just double checking that that is right. Let's have a look. I've got bits and bobs written down when I have watched a few of the others. Sometimes it's made sense to me and sometimes not. As I say, I do have a very strange way of doing things in a different order to people. No, I think that's pretty much the case. Shin logo on the outside I have written, so yes, it would go that way. That doesn't seem right though, does it? I'm trying to imagine. You see now, look. So I suspect I've done something wrong there, because if that was going in there, which it does, her knee bends backwards. Now, last time I knew, my knees went this way. So that means, are these the wrong way round? Good question. Good question, Sarah. All right, let's think. Yes, because if I remember rightly, they're supposed to turn in very slightly. Which, can you see how you've got a slight slope? I know somebody thought that that was an issue, but when I looked at mine, I think that is normal, that you've got this slight slope on them. And I definitely know that the screws go on the inside, so that bit has to sit that way. But there is no way her knees are going to bend. Oh, hang on though. Hang on, hang on. That does go that way. That one's good. Creaky, but... Now, why didn't that work a second ago? Was I holding them the wrong way around? Probably. Right. And I want to push these in here. And again, I know people have had a little bit of a squeaky issue. Yeah. And I know also some people have tried to get a little bit out of here. So I might actually try out Thomas's little scrapey thing. Because it's like sort of like a very fine knife, really. Let's see if it takes some of it out. Can you see how it's taking off just the tiniest little bit, which might be enough. So I'm just going to take a tiny bit off each one. Like I said, this is all trial and error. This is not something I've done before. So I'm hoping you're going to learn from my mistakes. And I just really do hope this makes sense. All right. All right, I'll put that down. I think it's time for a little bit of grease. Right, so put it down. So I know that's the front. I know that has to be on the outer side. So this is for this leg. I've just got a bit of grease on there. So I'm just going to pop a little bit on. See if it helps me. Hopefully it will. Might not, but let's see. So hold it nice and tight. Make sure you're not pushing on the weaker parts. Make sure you are holding it there. This does need to come out later, so that is the other reason. I'm going to use my little cloth because I think I've got a bit of oil on my fingers. Having a cloth definitely makes a difference. Right, I don't want that going in any further because, like I say, it does have to come out later. Yeah, make sure that's her knee, yeah. So you can see where I've not screwed that in, but like I say, as soon as she screws in, that will make that tighter. So we've definitely got the right leg. So let's have a go with the other one. So I'm going to do the same, tiny bit of grease. And so there's only a tiny bit in here, so it shows you shouldn't be using too much. There we go. That will do me. Oh, that one's gone in easy. You know, there it goes. It happens sometimes, sometimes not. So we have knees. Yep. We have pelvis. I have not pushed these in too far because to get the actual thigh bit on, this has to come off. So for now, I'm not overly worrying about that. Look how long her legs are. Must be nice. Right, so I'm actually going to have a go at tightening these again as I held the others. Okay, so I'm using the table for my hands to rest on, just to give me a little bit of leverage, because like I say, my hands, I think that's the answer for me anyway. Like I say, you might not have a problem, but look at that. That has made a massive difference for me and for the weakness in my hands. So I've got something to press on. Oh, I think I've just knocked the camera. I hope everything is still in place. Is it still in place? It is. This is going to be a longer video. I'm struggling with that one a little bit. But if I can get this top one in. Right. I'm not going to over worry about that now. I'm not going to hurt my hands, because I know I'm going to need some pressure for the rest. So I would actually say her upper part, apart from her feet, you know, her upper part, this is the lower part. I think I'm making some sort of robot by the time I've done. That needs to clip together a bit more. That's it. Yeah, that went okay. So we're going to pop that to one side. Now we need to look at the upper body. For that, we do need the skeleton frame, the spine, and remember, to the back, got a little one of those to push in after she's made, just to protect the back bit. And let's have a look at these shoulders. They're my feet. I'm not going to look at the feet at the moment. So for shoulders, we need shoulder blades. These are the shoulder blades. Self-explanatory. Again, screws to the back. So we've got one, we've got two. Obviously can't screw them in because we need the next bit in there. So I know that's where they're going to be going. They're going to be clipping onto there. So I'll pop them there just for a second. And then we need to move on to our next section, which is our shoulders. Comes in 3 parts to start with. There are more parts. Let's get the other one as well. 1, 2, and 3. And these little guys go on the end. Can you see where it's a little bit more sort of shallow, dinted in? That's where they will slide when it's put together. So let's have a think about this before I do it. I have to think which direction. You can see that looks like a shoulder joint. Yep. So that is going to be going, if I put these in the right position in. I'm doing it again like I did with the hips, aren't I? I have to think about this, where they're going. That is going there, isn't it? But then that would have it that way. So it's got to be that way. And it's got to be that way. That's why it's important to play around with it and lay it out to make sure that it sort of suits. Look at that, I've done it again. That way, even. Yeah. So those are going to clip onto there when they are screwed together. And then these little guys are going to push in. Okay, let's have a look inside, see whether that makes sense. Yeah, can you see? They're going to fit in there. Okay, so they might need a little bit of pushing. I think I'd be tempted to put them in to start with, but we need to put this bit together. So if we look, this has got to be the front because there's no screw holes. So this has to be the back. These are the same either side, so I wouldn't worry about that. But we're back to the oil again, a little bit of grease, otherwise she's going to have a very sticky shoulder or a creaky shoulder. Again, not too much. We don't want to get it in areas where we can't get it off, so I'm just tying a little bit in. I'm going to slot this in. In fact, it's easier to slot on the side that sticks out the most. Can you see that sticks out? Now, from what I saw, shoulders are something. That one actually went in okay, but some people have had difficulty pushing them on. Like I say, if I can do it, it shouldn't be too difficult. Let's see. Yep, this is where I will struggle a little bit. Oh, it's going on, it's going on. I'm going to get my cloth to help me push it together. So I'm going to lay it down and that's it, apply my pressure. So basically I've just wrapped it up, applied my pressure with the cloth and it's gone in, so I've not sort of hurt my hands by doing that. Okay, now you can see there's a little gap, there's a little screw to go in there. And again, talking about screws, if you're not sure, look at the distance there. That's going to be quite a small screw. I haven't got any tiny ones left, so it has to be this one. And also that's quite deep, so these, I would say these are both little tiny screws. So where's my screwdriver gone? It's there. So again, I'm going to hold it down, but like I said, this is me. If your hands are strong enough not to have to do that, that's all good. have been tighter, but it will do for now. And I've got to hope the screwdriver fits in this one. This is quite indented, so you might need, I've got a picture of just my elbow here. It's not very good angle, that, is it? Oh, it has actually gone in, because obviously you've got your depth, so you don't want to damage this out a bit. So I'm going to say that's enough for now. I do think that one needs to go in a little bit further to hold this seam here. Then these little guys, basically, if I can get them on, this is the only thing now, if I've not, oh, in fact, if anything, that holds it together anyway. I think that probably could do with going on a little bit further. Yeah, so you can see that is there. So, oh, where have I got a lump? Oh, look what I've done. Right, guys, a warning. Screw. Too big. But I haven't got any smaller ones. So have I put in the wrong screw there? But it did, so I had written down small screw, so I'm not sure there. It's not the end of the world. I'm going to undo it slightly. I may have to look for some screws. Wrong way. Turn it. Remember, clockwise, anti-clockwise. Get it right way around. It's not doing it. I hate screwdrivers. No, it hates me as well. Right. I'm just going to have to suffer that for now. What I'm hoping is, if I'm really careful, because the screw, you can see where the screws push through, I'm hoping I can sort of heat that down a little bit. And again, thankfully, I'm learning mistakes on the skeleton and not on the external. I think that can be sorted. I'm going to have to be careful with that, although I am a little bit perplexed on which screw I should have used, because I definitely got written down small on the shin. But let's have a little look. Could that one have took it? Probably. No, look at that. Only just though, only just. So perhaps I should have used that size. We'll try on the other arm and see what happens. So I don't take that any further. She just looks like, oh no, got a little lump on her arm, bless her. So let's have a look how this is going to fit in. I'm going to just pop the two together. I think you're probably supposed to just push it in. It pushes in. It does push in. Right, so I'm going to put this on, see what happens. As I say, I can undo it if necessary. The only screws I've got left, really, apart from a couple of little ones, a couple of big ones, is those medium-sized ones. So it's going to have to be those. And let's take our time putting them in, just in case I've been wrong. So I'll show you first before you just see my elbow again. There are 3 screws. Yep. They all should be okay. So excuse me for my elbow again, because I'm going to have to put the pressure on. I'm just not going to screw them all the way in until I've decided which screws work and which screws don't. What I'm going to do is, after the video, I'm going to take the screws out of the shin area and try it. In fact, I might as well do it on video. It takes a little bit longer, but I might as well do it. So I've not done them tight. As you can see, the only thing is, not by not doing it tight, I'm not pulling them in enough, so I'm going to have to do them tighter. Haven't got a choice for this one. So again, elbow apology. Because otherwise it's not going to stay on, is it? Oh, look, can you see? It's now joined, so that means I do need to put the other one in nice and tight as well, because otherwise they are not going to join. That's one. Now these are the right size. To me, there were 3 sizes. There was the very long one, there was the medium ones, which is what I'm using now, and there was only 2 tiny ones, so it had to be assessed. Like I said, clearly the tiny ones are designed for the arms, but you can see we've got that in, okay? Hoping that's the right way up. Screws are to the back, which is where they're meant to be. And hopefully then this pushes in. Yeah, because obviously your arms have to come in and out depending on what you're doing. So that's, yeah, that's tight, that's in. So I can't remember my shape of my shoulder blade for my girls though. That feels a bit weird. Is that right? Well, it can't be that way up, can it? Or can it? What do you think, guys? But then it'd have to be on the other side. It'd have to be like that. Is it upwards or is it downwards? Downwards looks wrong, doesn't it? Because why would your shoulder do that? But then that way doesn't work either. Oh, I think somebody's made a bodge here. So I actually think it should be that way up. This poor girl's arms are not doing too well, are they? Right, I'm trying to think what my dolls look like inside, because I have seen them inside. I think it's that way. That the other way just does not ring a bell, which means that's got to be on that side. So, time to undo. I'll be really good with these silly screwdrivers by the time I've done. Right, so the opposite way. Again, elbow shot. Apologies. Actually easier to undo than faster. I suppose once they've been in once. You've got to be careful really though, I suppose, because if you keep unscrewing them and screwing them, you're going to actually loosen where they go in. So that's not a great thing. See, it's only plastic it's screwing into. It's not sort of screwing into something that's already sort of positioned. So I'm going to swap it over. So I think it should be that way. I hope it's that way. I really should have had a proper look. The sort of thing didn't really sort of ring a bell with me. Right. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed that that is the right way round now. Because they're definitely screw to the back. We know that. So elbow again. Let's fasten this one back up. Well, this is turning into a how not to video. But hopefully, if anyone's planning on doing it, it helps. Oh, that was a bit heavy. I'm hoping that's right because I don't really want to keep unscrewing it because, as I say, it can affect them. So I've pulled that tight-ish, not fully, because I'm aware that if I bodge it up. But then we need the other arm doing. So we're going to have an experiment. I'm going to pinch this screw out of this guy and see if it works in the arm. If so, that means you need the tiny ones in the arm, not in the legs. Because there is only two that size. Let's see if this medium fits in her shin. Turn the screwdriver again, opposite direction. I've got a towel laid down because I thought things wouldn't slide around with a towel so much. Right, I'm being really careful. Why is this thing ratchet one minute and not the other? As I say, I'm certainly not a DIY person. Alright. There we go. Well, it's better for me if it's not on a ratchet. Yeah. There's no sign of it coming through the other side. Really shouldn't be risking this bodging it. Look, that was fine. My error then. For the arms, you need the two tiny weenie screws. So be careful. If I were you, when you're separating them up, I think tiny screws, arm. Because otherwise, you're going to do what I've done and she's going to get a little pimple on her arm that looks like a spot that wants to be burst. So I'm really hoping with a little bit of careful heating up. I know it's not a vinyl, but you can still manipulate plastic a little bit. So, see if it'll go in. This is one that I had trouble squeezing in, didn't I? A few people, as I say, I've seen that they have problems with this one. Let's pop it on that side first. No. Time for my cloth. Move my screwdriver. No, you don't want to go down. Right. I'm going to use this. I don't know whether I should, but just to take it down a little bit. Like I said, I'm sure you guys who've done Gundams, etc. are absolutely cringing the way I'm doing this. But, ta-da! Tiny little bit off and it fits. So I've squeezed it on, so that is good. So we need the outer. Again, if it's hard to clip on, I'm going to use the cloth because that cuts into your fingers, and I'm just going to, there we go, squeeze it together nicely. Squeeze the bottom bit, and let's find, it's not going to stop on without the screw, is it? There we go. So the top one is going to have the longer screw because I've only got 2 of those very tiny ones. That does not want to stay on, it keeps popping off. Right, stay. I'm going to have to put the screw in now because it's not going to stay unless I do. So here we go. Just, yeah, you see, for the top it's quite wide, so I don't know why I didn't think about that. Be careful, just sort of keep popping it back on. A little bit of screwdriver in. Right, so I've taken the tiny weeny screw out of Vision, and I'm going to pop it in here, and hopefully we're not going to have a disaster like I've just had on the other side. You really should watch other videos first before you do this. I've watched a couple, but yeah, you don't really hold it in your head, do you? Yeah, look, no damage. Definitely tiny ones. Big mistake. Lesson learnt. And we need this little guy. Pushes onto there. Okay, so let's see now. This should move. Again, if that's too tight, if your screw is too tight there, it is going to restrict the movements, but you don't want it too loose either. But you can come back. Do we pop in? Comfortable out. Yep, that does need tightening, but I'm not going to do it just yet. So let's have a look. The other side then. I think we're right now. That does look more like the shoulder blade from what I remember mine looking like. So fingers crossed. So find out if she's got upside down arms, bless her. So we still need the medium screws because that's all we've got left. So that's clearly what we're going to be using. Again, elbow shot. I have to go in from this angle using the base underneath me. I say if you're brave, you can use your electric screwdriver. If you've just got strong hands, you can do. But you need to make sure they're straight if you're going to be doing that. I think it's because some of the things are spiky to hold. So as you try to hold them, as you can see, you end up with dents in your fingers. I wonder how long this is going to take. I end up with something like a 3-hour video. Longest video ever to put one together. Right, that's as far as I'm going. They do need to be tightened up further, but I'm not pushing it because my hands won't do it. So the shoulders are a little bit loose purely because I've not clipped it together properly. And unfortunately, she has this little lump on her arm, which, well, I'm going to have to try and get this screw out, aren't I? Let's do it now while I'm at it. Otherwise, I'm going to end up putting her down very disappointed later. So, no medium, tiny screw. So I need to pinch the other tiny screw, which I can't remember which leg I took the first one out of here. Let's hope this is the tiny one, otherwise I'm going to be taking 2 out at once. Am I still on screen there? Let's move over. Is this the tiny one? That doesn't look like a tiny one to me. Put that one back in. Oh, what am I like? My son's going to be in stitches when he sees me doing this. This has got to be the tiny one. Come on, tiny one. Tiny, weeny one. There we go. Right, so tiny one, arms. Large and medium, legs. So the only time those tiny ones are going to be is when you put them in that shoulder. I've had a few people saying good luck. I don't know what they're anticipating. I put some pictures on of the frame and saying, oh, I'm going to be doing it. I should have done it yesterday, actually. And they're like, oh, good luck, you know. Oh, yeah, that already had the dint, didn't you? I panicked then. But no, that already had a dint. So, push it in. So we have 2 arms. Unfortunately, with a little dent. But, yeah, with a little bit of TLC, I think I can get that out. But it's something I'm going to have to I'm going to try and gently heat it a little bit. Try and push it back a little bit, and then maybe a little bit of sanding, because this is going to be really weak now. You can see it's gone white because it's sort of damaging the plastics. So I'm going to have to tighten that up a bit, else it's not going to hold at all. When I pick her up to show you, she'll just collapse. That's no good, is it? It's a good job I've got this towel down, because at least it protects the frame while I'm pushing down on it like this as well. Whereas if you're pushing down on a hard surface, again, you're going to get damage. Right, we have stiff arms, but that's okay. We have arms. That's the main thing. Well, we have the upper arm. We haven't got the lower arm yet. We need an elbow, and we need the hand area. The hands are in my other packet. So, not long now, I promise. We have these. We have our elbows at the biggest point. So it looks like a number 9, or, I don't know, letter B, a letter D, whichever way. Number 9, letter P, whichever way you want to look at it. So, this is the crook of her elbow. So this one's this side, yeah? So that means that one's that side. So we can pop them down first. Let me move her up a little bit so you can see. So much for being all tidy. The screws are everywhere now and everything's gone everywhere. Right, so these are our elbow joints. But if you look, they're the same shape. So it bulges out more one side than the other. We also need the screws, which they're not screws. Ah, look, there's no screws on this one. They're just popping together. But you can see one has the hole, one has the point, so they're going to be going in that way. But if you look, they both go the same way, so they can't go together. So let's have a look. This one, they need to be going in opposite directions, because they're going to pop together this way. And this bulgy bit, as I've said, needs to be this direction. So that's that one. So that means that one's got to be that one. Our next point, let's have a look. That's where the hands are. You can see where those little bits are. That's just a cover over for the hands, and that's the hands. So we can do this bit first. I think this is the easy peasy bit. Now, elbows, we don't want creaky elbows. Little bit of grease. I've done quite well with the grease, actually. I'm quite pleased. I don't know whether I should have put a little bit more on some areas, but at least I've not got everything covered in grease. So these, again, do they clip on? A bit of effort. Might need my cloth. Might definitely need my cloth, because, oh, there we go. It went on. It went on. So just a little bit of pressure. And again, same for the other side. This is the one. I think this is the one where I've seen people ending up using pliers. I don't want to do that unless I have to. So I'm going to bring my cloth in. And I'm going to try it again. So we're going to push down. Make sure that's her elbow point. Because if you get these the wrong way, you can break their elbows really easy, as I found out with my Mirai when I tried twisting her elbow in the wrong direction. Right, pressure time. I'm putting it down on my cloth. And I'm going to try and put some downward pressure on it, because it doesn't want to go. No. Right. Let's see if I'm being naughty. I'm just going to take a tiny bit out. Can you see all I'm doing is rubbing it around? You can use an X-acto knife to do this. You just got to make sure you're not taking too much out. At least this, it's sort of sharp but not sharp. Does that make sense? Making sure it's right way up would help. That made a difference? Not a lot. Right, here we go. Pressure. That's not right. This is not playing at all. So this is where I may have to get pliers in, but I know this is the area somebody else had problems. So what I'm going to try and do is wrap. Make sure it's lined up. This might not work either. This is an experiment, guys. I've wrapped my cloth. Oh, it's not big enough, is it? Let's have another go. I might try the other side, because I know some people, one side's gone in and the other side hasn't. So you can see it wants to go in. See, that side goes in there, but it's this bit here to here that's the issue. No. Right, I'm going to try the other side just out of curiosity, because I've noticed some people, one side has gone in and the other side hasn't. Again, if you get too much grease on your fingers, it's slipping. Perhaps I don't need grease on that. Perhaps I'll put a bit of grease there. I don't know. We'll see. So, this is the side we're having problems pushing on there. Can you see me? Am I moving too far away? Right, so this is the bit here. Ah, now that's gone on that side. So, fingers crossed, this is going to easily slip in there. Let's see. Let us see. Let me make sure my elbow's the right way around first before I do too much. Yeah, right. Right, I'm gonna have to clean my hands. Got the baby wipe. It just takes the grease off a little bit better. So I'm just using the baby wipe to take a bit of grease off, and I've got some plain tissues here just to dry off from the baby wipes. Right, I'm having a real fight here. Right, but I know I'm not the only one that's had that difficulty. So as much as my hands are weak, it's not just an issue with myself. But you've got to remember, these are not designed really as kits for us guys. These are for us mad ones that have decided that we can do it. But at least perhaps we can appreciate how much work has to go into making one of these girls. So your decision is, do you actually buy one ready done? I think if the elbows are anything to go by, the answer is most definitely. Look at that though. It's gone in, but I've not gone in the top bit. So now I've got to try and get that apart. All right, I must be very careful. Make sure you line it up, guys, because look what I've done. Can you see? And now I'm going to have a terrible time getting that apart because look how close it's actually gone in, which is fabulous. Because look, we've got a really nice tight sort of join there, but I now can't get the other bit in. So I have to try, I'm not going to break Thomas's thing, and try and get it apart. Nope. Right, so now I've budged both elbows. It will come apart, but I don't know whether you guys want to sit and watch me do that because that's going to take a little while. So I'm going to put that one down again. Right, so if you are going to apply pressure, make sure you've got them both lined up. Look, must be lined up. When it's there, I've lined it up. Make sure it is. Okay, so now, she was going to end up one arm, didn't she? No, she's not, because I'm going to do it. Have we done it? Have we done it? Have we done it? We've got a bit of fluff. But yay. But no. I've now made another bodge, guys. Right, okay, so we're looking. This is an elbow. Great. You can see it's got a bend. But how do I attach that to that? Perhaps this would have been useful. Can you see? This needs to be in here because that needs to go up there. So now I have the issue of getting two of these apart. Right, because they're both wrong. So I have to look at that. So I think I'm going to pause it a second because I'm going to need some, I've got some jewellery pliers, which are smaller pliers that I might be able to just get in there and prise them apart carefully. Because the thing is, when it finally went in, they went in so tight that I'm going to have a battle with them. Now I'm also just double checking the positioning for this. Make sure they are on the right side. They're very stiff as well. So as we said, the bulbous part is on the inside, so we need to make sure that that would, so they are right, they're in the right sides, but unfortunately they are put on without that little bit. So here we go. This is going to be real fun, this. I don't think I've ever had, well, I've never made anything like this, so really I'm not complaining. I'm going to just pause you a second while I try and find, this is the second pause, part 3 I think. Well, I've had fun for almost an hour trying to either get her arms apart and then assess where everything was going so you guys didn't have to watch me deciding, umming and ahhing whether it was the right or the left. So I think we've got there. I have actually put one together because again I thought we could speed it up a little bit for you guys, but I am going to show you the others. Now when that is clipped like that, it's an absolute mare to get apart. But again, my fault in some respects, because perhaps I should have thought about it, but you can get it apart, but you've got to be really, really careful. They're so hard to clip together as well. And I've used something that I don't think anybody else has used. Because I haven't got that strength, I have this in my craft room. It's a small vise. Now, obviously, you don't want it damaged. So I basically, which I might show you in a minute, I use the small vise, the flannel in the middle, and just very, very slowly and carefully, bit by bit, wound this to squeeze it together, because there was no way in a million years my hands were going to squeeze that together. So I'll just clear some space a little bit. So yeah, as I say, some of you guys out there who do Gundams will probably be crying, because I have used blades, I have used screwdrivers, I have used everything to get it apart, but I had to do it slowly, so I couldn't rush it. I had to try and ease it off bit by bit. It's great that it's got a fantastic grip if you think about it, because it's not going to come apart. And the only way I actually finally decided where the positioning was going was by my poor Mirai. Boop, who is there? I took her arm off. But I found out something quite fascinating, and I'm not quite sure whether that's right or wrong. Right, if you look, now don't worry, it isn't wrong, but it looks wrong to start with. This is Mirai's arm. Mirai's quite an age now. The only reason I took her apart is because I did have some damage early days in her elbow, so I thought, well, it might be quite nice to have a look. On first glance, I panicked, because look, one, if I can move it up a little bit, I'm like, oh my God, one arm is shorter than the other. But what you do need to do is look inside, and you can see it doesn't come all the way down, so that's why that is like that. So when you put the hand bit in, it's okay. So I did have a bit of a panic thinking the arm was too short. That was just me. Again, if you look, these are the same size. This is Mirai. Obviously, with it being milk, actually, it's quite handy. It's showing up nicely. So I decided to clip this one together, but I didn't clip this one because I wanted to show you why I went wrong. And hopefully you're then not going to go wrong. As you can see, I've actually put the hand bit on there. So I'm going to do the hand bit on this one, the elbow bit on this one. So my hands are starting to ache, something terrible. My son tried squeezing some of them home together, because he's home from work now. He was struggling as well. So that's why the little vise came out, and it was quite handy, but you have to be careful, because otherwise you could crush it or put it in the wrong position. So it's a possible use, but you're using it at your own risk. I'm not telling you to use it. This is my payout for this doll. Well, actually, it was a gift. So if I make a bodge, that's on me. So there we go. So basically, as when we got this little bit, this was the bit I forgot to put in when I tried clipping it together. So I had to get it apart. So I've already pushed this on. So it was just a push on. But you can see I've got some scuff marks on there, I am afraid, because, let me see if I can get it closer in focus. I'm not sure whether we are or not, but I have scuffed it, you can see, because I've been like trying to get in between it to get it apart. So I made a bit of a mess there, but thankfully it's inside, so I should be okay. So we can see there's a fatter side and a thinner side, like we said on this. Can you see? It's like a number 9 or a P, whichever way you look at it. But this fatter side, it's important to where it sits, because I got it wrong. So I've actually undone these elbow joints 3 times. I was at risk of getting to a point of thinking, well, if I keep on doing them, they're not going to work. But I finally managed a technique that got them apart quite easily. So, but I wouldn't recommend it. Ideally, get it done right the first time. So I looked at this P, and I know the fattest part's got to be at the front. I know that, but somehow I must have twisted it while I was doing it and went like that. So you've got to think, that is where her elbow front is, where the crook of the elbow is, where you bend. So then when we take this, it's got to be that way. I don't know how I managed that way, because I knew that was the case. I must have just somehow twisted it and put it on the wrong way. So if we look, you can see the one I've done there. So we get the P, but this is to the back of it. Yeah? So when we sit, because both arms are exactly the same. So I've already put a little bit of oil on that, so you can see it moves nicely. I have slotted on that little piece, albeit I have scuffed it quite badly. So I know now that is right. And so this poor elbow's been taken apart. So now, like I said, both are exactly the same. And I just use my Mirais to compare that I'd done that right. So make sure they do. Another thing to watch for where I went wrong. Can you see where they join here? And then at the back, see, this is longer here and this is shorter. So obviously, I can't turn it around now, but if you were doing that to that, if you'd used the other side, obviously that's wrong. That's where I went wrong as well. But now I know that matches that, and that matches that. So I now know it is in the right way. Now, because I have pushed and pulled and everything, I don't know whether I'll be able to push these in again. No, I'm not going to be able to. So I'm going to show you a very naughty way of doing it. Now, here's my vise. Here's my little flannel that I'm putting in to protect it. Okay, don't know whether you'll be able to see that properly. And I actually found the smaller end is better to be pushed in first. So very carefully I made sure it just slotted in, and I just did one turn at a time. Checked it's still in line. Another turn. Checked it's still in line. Very slowly. Don't rush this, because if this goes in the wrong way, and as I say, I do not say this is a good way of doing it. This is the way I did it. Now, I've not gone all the way. I'm hoping you can see that. You can see I've not pushed it all the way in. So I'm going to undo it now, because I want the other side. So very carefully, that's not quite wide enough. Make sure it's wide enough. Make sure you've got this flannel, because thankfully it's not scuffed anything by using the flannel. So again, I'm going to just turn tiny little bits. I know it's in line now because the other bit's in line. Can you see it's slowly coming together? It should just click at a certain point. Oh, there we go. So now it's in, and if I needed to tighten the other side up, which unfortunately, because I've like hacked it a bit, there's a slight gap. I'm hoping with a bit of work you're not going to be able to see that though. Oh, it slid out. That's why I say you've got to be very careful if you're using a vise. This is just a little craft one. Right, that's it. I'm not doing any more. I think that's tight enough. But thankfully, it's not scuffed at all by doing this. If I'd have put it in without the flannel, of course, it is going to damage it. But that was my answer to holding it together. A vise. Like I say, not one necessarily recommended, but for my hands, that worked. So now we have an elbow and an elbow. Yep, that one I've already put the hand on. This one I didn't complete because I wanted you to see it. I'm really feeling I'm doing this all back to front for everybody. First of all, I had to slot this into here. Again, bit of an effort. Using the flannel, I just pressed down with a little set of pliers. Now, I think this is pretty obvious where this is going. This is hopefully going to clip in. Might be tight. Oh, there we go. It's gone in. Yeah, and then we have the little sort of half dome for the other side, which again is going to click in. Hopefully not as difficult as the elbows were for me. Look, that went in okay. Ta-da! That was actually quite easy. I wish my elbow had been that easy. I now need to put the arm in here. Now this could be a bit tight. It was on the other side. So first of all, I'm going to look at this, see where I've cut off those little spurs. Are they neat enough? They're not. I'm just going to use my tiny files, because it's going to be inside there. You're not going to see it. Just to check. Keep feeling it. That's smooth now. That's okay. That's good. We also need a tiny bit of grease. Like I said, this is going to be the strangest video ever, I'm sure. But it might entertain you for its failure quality, if nothing else. And hopefully it's going to teach you guys not to make the silly mistakes that I made. So let's see if it'll go in. It's going, it's going. Right, again, my hands are slippy. Oh, I'm throwing screwdrivers at people now. This is not good. I'm just wiping my hands. Might actually get my flannel to hold it. I'm going to struggle. I'm taking it out because what I'm going to do is what I did with the other joints. This is Thomas's little thing. So some people have used these X blades, X knives. I'm calling it a X-Acto, isn't it? It's an X-Acto. I keep calling it wrong thing. But this isn't really a sharp knife, so I can just put it in and just gently take out the tiniest flakes of the product. So one more time round. Hopefully that's enough. Just blow any bits out. And let's see if that makes a difference. I think it has a little bit. So I'm going to twist it now. But you can see I'm putting quite a lot of effort into this. It's going to slip if I do that, isn't it? So this is not playing. I'm going to take it out again. And Again, maybe it's got oil on it now, hasn't it? I keep calling it oil, grease, whatever. I'm going to take a little bit down. Like I say, I'm sure some of you are absolutely cringing, but if it ain't going to go in, it ain't going to go in. So we need to just slightly slim it down. And you only need a tiny bit quite often. So I need to put a bit more of the grease on because I already took it off now, haven't I? This is going to go in if it kills me. Are we ready? We're going to try. We're going to get it in this time. It's going to go in, isn't it? It will go in. It will go in. It's not playing. It's because I can't grip it. I think that is the problem. And I say, if you've got a stronger grip than mine, you're probably, we're nearly there. There we go. I say, if you've got a stronger grip than mine, you might be okay. Now, so we have two arms. They now need to go in here. So let's have a check. I know this one went in because it went in earlier. Oh, watch for that bend. You've got to really be careful when you hold them, because if you push, it does that, and that's not great either. You need to keep it nice and straight, and that one's not going to go in. See if the other side will. No, I think we're going to have the same difficulty as we had with the hands. So where's that little blade of Thomas's? Well, my only problem being is we've got these cuffs on now, so that might not be a good idea. I hope she's not going to fall apart by the time I've done. Let me check there's no spurs or anything on there that's affecting it. Bit more grease. I don't think I actually put grease on these, did I? Or if I did before I made the complete body with the elbows, it'll have brushed off by now. Right, over there with the tissue. It's just getting past a certain... Hey, there we go. There's a slight ridge on the top bit, and I think that is the problem. Now, by the way, while I was messing about, I actually managed to get the screws in, so she's a bit firmer there. So can you just see, if you run your nail along, you can see there's a ridge, and you get over that ridge. I mean, that's the thing that's going to keep it in, so that ridge is important, but you get over that ridge and it stays in. So it's just a bit of elbow grease, so to speak. Right, so I can get it past, and that's fine. Nope, it's not gonna go. I'm gonna end up damaging it if I'm not careful. So I'm gonna do what I did on the other side. We've got the grease on, we've checked there's no lumps on there, so I'm gonna take a tiny bit out. But this blade's great actually, because can you see how fine it takes the tiniest bits off, which an X-Acto knife will do as well if you're good with them, but I'm very clumsy with them, so I don't want to risk it. But we don't want to make too much, because if it gets too loose, it's going to drop out. Right, are we ready? Come on, you can do it. Oh dear. I think I'm getting weaker by the minute. I hope you guys have different tools in the shop. Otherwise, you must all have hands that are dropping off. Because, like I said, believe you me, after seeing this, you cannot not appreciate how much work they put into this. So when you pay that bit extra, it's not going to go in. It's not playing. It's not playing. I'm going to have to make it a little bit. Let me clean it off again. Get the grease off. Sand it down a bit. But I don't want to affect that nub bit really. Yeah, that's the bit that's not going in. So just take a tiny bit off. It will go in. We're nearly there. I've only got these feet to look at. I feel like I've been at this all day. I haven't, but it just feels like that. Oh, I think it's nearly there. Hey, it's just getting it past that little point. So we're in. Oh, I'm exhausted. Right, so that turns around, thankfully, because I thought I put it in wrong then. Right, so remembering the chunky bit is the front. And yeah, look, you can still see that little injury. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get that down. I don't want to sand it though, because it's going to make a hole. I'm going to try heating it very, very carefully, because I've got various heating implements to do things. So we have arms, we have legs. Now, the spine doesn't want pushing on properly, because again, we've got some messing about, but can you see, that's easy enough. We've got a cross shape and a cross hole, and they're going to push in. I am not going to push that in at the moment. because I need to work out the main body part. So I'm going to keep her in 2 pieces for now. So one more thing. Oh, I'm determined to throw that grease around as well. One more thing I need to look at. Now, you know the hands just slot onto these. This is my right hand, I know, but they just slot on, but that's later. Is the feet. Now, with the feet, you can't completely do them because you have to attach the shell part to the foot. But I just thought I'd show you what you've got. You've got some little bits and pieces here. Now, they do actually, on here, you've got left and you've got right. But also, I don't know whether you're going to be able to see it. I'm hoping in here, I'll use the knife to point it, there's a tiny little ridge. Now, that ridge is what's giving us our range of movement. So her toe needs to point down quite drastically, but it doesn't come back too far. So I have sat, before I showed you, a few minutes trying to work out which way works best. So be careful with that. Check it before you really force anything on. I'm pretty sure I've got it the right way around. If I can speak. Fingers crossed. I said that. I thought I got the elbows right and I hadn't. So a little bit of grease. Ankle grease this time. That's the one I've chosen to fit on my left foot actually. Let's see if I can push it on, or whether we're going to need Mr. Vice. I think we might need Mr. Vice. Right, so where's my cap? That's the cap that goes on. The cap's both the same, so that doesn't matter either side. So here we go, Mr. Vice. Let me move all that out the way. Got to make sure this is lined up, because can you see also, I say about the ridge on there, but you see this little nub here? That is what stops and alters that range of movement. Otherwise it would just go both ways. So that is why, as I say, we need to line that up with that. I hope I'll just pick the right one up. Right, so because I'm struggling, make sure it's on the bit where the nub needs to be, where that space is. So be careful here. Right, I'm going to take that out because I'm pushing it in more one side than the other. Let's take it a bit further out there. I'm sure, like I said, nobody else has used this method. And like I said, that does not mean it's right. It's certainly, oh, it's not going to go on. I don't think I can do it that way. It's going to have to be brute strength, which I don't have any, I'm afraid. So we try the pliers. They might be a little bit better. They're only tiny pliers. Again, though, not to damage it, I am going to wrap it in. Make sure it's lined up. No, I am not going to do that either. Alright, there's got to be a way of me applying the pressure without causing any damage. Let's see if the other one will go on. Bit of grease. And again, lining up this with the nub, because otherwise you'll just crush it together. You see, ideally, I could do with getting in with that, but this is going to damage the ankle bone, and the ankle bone is quite visible on the doll, so it's important. Perhaps I can try and do it one-sided. See if I can do it. I don't want to nip my fingers either. No. So can't really shave that down because you cannot affect that. Otherwise, you're not going to get any movement in the foot. So I think the foot is going to have to wait for somebody else to do. It's sort of gone in. Nope. It's popping back out again. If I can wiggle it. As you can see, we've basically got to seal this gap. If I can get that on, or which I might have to ask somebody else in the household to get it on, we then, okay, see I've left a little spur on there. Where's that? This cutter I'd definitely recommend, and if nothing else. All right. Right, ultimately, that has to then push on to there. So they both push on together, so that should be nice and smooth. So that is what I've got to do, but I'm going to have to get somebody else in the house to do it because I cannot possibly press down on there. But it could be because my fingers are tired. Yeah, just because I do have problems with my hands, as I've already mentioned. I missed that spare as well. See, that looks like it. See, that side's gone. I just can't push in the other side. Ultimately, this is what we need for both of our feet. Yeah, as you can see, they're going to slot in there, so they may need a little bit of smoothing off like before. And if you look, can you see how there's these little dents here? I think that's how I'm going to decide my right and left, because let's have a look at her. No, actually it's the other way around. Yeah, so looking at the doll, make sure you're looking at her from, because if you look at her you go right or left, but imagine your right and your left and do it that way around. I'm really rubbish with rights and lefts. Right, so that I am not going to be able to get in, but I can show you this bit. This is the bit that is actually going to slot inside the foot, and if you may have seen, there is a screw. You see that? Okay, there will be a screw that goes through the external part, the shell, through here, and it holds the foot in place. Now I have a couple of screws left, quite worryingly odd sizes, because if I look, those two are the same. So I've actually had 4 sizes of screws here, because I don't know what this guy is. Is he them? I think he's meant to be with that, but it looks longer. Yet I had the tinier ones for the legs. So a little confused again there. There's definitely no more screws, and I have not, I know it's a mess on here, but I haven't moved anything. So I have a funny number of screws. Looking at this, it will be these two, because we only put a screw in one of these. If I remember rightly, I have written it down. It's the top one, I think. Can we still see that? That's there. All right, I've written in on my piece of paper, for the feet, screw is only needed on the front. What have I written front for? Can you see that's going to go in there? And we're going to screw that in, but I've got to put the foot on at the same time, so I'm not going to over worrying about that yet in this video. And apart from that, I can't get that together without somebody's sort of stronger hands than mine, so I can't really put it together anyway. So the foot is going to have to be part of our next one. In the meantime, I can work out why I have 3 different size screws, because I've already used the tiny ones, so that gave me 4 different sizes. I thought there was only 3, so that would be interesting to look at. So I think I need to tidy up and say I have finished for tonight. I seem to have a spare one of those. As far as I'm aware, we shouldn't have more than 2, but I seem to have got 3. I'm 100% sure the doll doesn't have it anywhere else, so I don't know why I've got a spare one of those. So they're all my feet pieces. So I'll put my feet pieces over there. They're my spare screws. These I don't need anymore for this part. I will need it for the body. That's if I haven't lost the will to live to get the body done. I will get it done. I am going to have Gaia built if it kills me. It's taking a bit longer perhaps. So we've definitely got the legs. They weren't too bad to put together. Apart from, remember, I put a too small a screw in here. Those 2 tiny screws are for this part. Otherwise you end up with this. So be careful. These have to be the smallest screws, these 2 at the top of the arm, in the whole packet. Otherwise you get my error on this. So if nothing else, we do have a skeleton. We don't have our feet yet, but we will have our feet. We've certainly learned a lot of mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes, but we do have our joints in the right place now. And again, the elbow bends up from there. So everything's in place. I just need to get some of it tightened up. So I hope you sort of enjoyed that. It'll probably give you a giggle, if nothing else, where I've gone wrong at times. But hopefully me going wrong means you won't go wrong. fingers crossed. So I'm going to leave it at there. I'm going to try and put this video together and see how many hours it feels like it's taken, and hope you've got a little bit from it, if nothing else. And I know there's a few of you who've been waiting, my friends that don't do the dolls, but they're curious to see how it goes, and they'll probably think I've been insane even trying it. So hope to see you soon. Please like, subscribe and share, and notification button ready for her body. As far as I can see, the body, this is the hardest bit. With the body, again, it's taking your time, making sure, you know, you're not sort of screwing something into place, which there's not really many screws anyway. And I'm not going to glue her, not until I'm 100% sure I've got all the body parts in the right place. So, hope you had a bit of fun watching that. Hope to see you soon. Bye for now.